If you're buying property, chances are you're going to need finance. We're joined here today by Reid from Low Market. Thanks for coming, Evan.
No problem, Sam. Thanks for having me.
Evan, you're an accomplished mortgage broker. What are the common types of loans that you see buyers trying to obtain?
So there's three types of loans that buyers are trying to obtain. The first one is your standard home loan, which will cover owner-occupied, investment, and refinance loans. The second one is your construction loan. So when customers are buying a block of land and then building. And the third type is bridging. So bridging is where your customer is selling their existing property, but purchasing their next property before that.
One of the questions, Evan, that we commonly get is that people that are looking to participate in an auction are concerned about obtaining formal approval of finance after they're in a position where they've already bid and bought a home unconditionally with a full 5 or a 10% deposit. What advice would you give buyers around that?
Yeah, so it's really important that we are prepared when it comes to an auction. So the best thing that your client can do is seek pre-approval before attending the auction. So generally what we could do is get all the finance all done pending evaluation on the property. So we know at an auction, you're exchanging on that day without a calling off. So what we can do is we can get everything prepared for you and even prepare some property reports before your auction so you know what your limit is when you're bidding.
In the real estate game, Evan, one of the things that we commonly see with buyers is not understanding the terminology that real estate agents or auctioneers or brokers might use. What are some of the common phrases that you see in the finance space that become a bit foreign to buyers out there in the marketplace and need clarification?
Yeah, so there are lots of broker banking terms out there. The main one that you'll probably see day to day would be one, LVR, which stands for loan to value ratio. And that essentially means what is your current debt and what is the value of your property? And then that becomes the percentage of what your loan to value ratio is. The second one you might hear commonly would be LMI, which is lender's mortgage insurance. And what that is when you are borrowing money that is over 80% of what the LVR is of your property.
Perfect. Just on that a little bit further, when it comes to turnaround times, when we're talking about mortgages and loans, what can a buyer expect in a marketplace for pre-approval or formal approval?
So that's another great question that you've asked around terminology is around that pre-approval and formal approval. So essentially a pre-approval is when you're pre-approved, pending just your valuation being checked. So essentially we've done your income checks, we've done your liability checks, and what we're waiting on is for you to find that right property. Unconditional is when all the checks are being done and completed to satisfy the bank to loan you money against that property that you're purchasing. Few other terms that are really important to be mindful of is offset account. So your offset account is really important, and a lot of people have questions around what an offset account does. Essentially, it's money that you're putting into a transactional account that will offset the interest that you're paying on your home loan.
It's obviously an exciting time for a buyer when they get their offer accepted on a property, Evan. What are the next steps from a finance perspective after that's occurred?
Yeah, so after you pop that bottle of champagne and celebrate, it's really important you contact the important people that are going on this journey with you, which is one, your broker, to make sure that we can start the process of getting your formal approval done. Two, it's your conveyancer, because we want to start the checks to make sure that everything in the contract is perfect. And then three, you want to organise getting your pest and building report done, because that's really going to be important to find anything that might be hidden that could be an issue when it comes to getting your formal approval on your home loan.
And I know it might differ, but from the moment that my offer is accepted with pre-approval, roughly how long is that time then to gain formal approval?
It can actually be as quick as a couple of hours. So generally when you've been accepted on your property, your pre-approval is already done, which you should. I just want to make sure that everyone is aware. It's so important to get your pre-approval done before you are making offers on a property. But let's just say you have your pre-approval done and it's in place. It can be as quick as a couple of hours. You know, generally banks now are doing valuations that are instant. It could be desktop, which could be overnight, or we may need to send out someone to do a formal short form valuation on that property, which can take generally around 3 to 4 days. Then we send that to the bank and it's generally approved or done formally within 1 to 2 days.
One of the hard things that buyers find, Evan, is whether or not they're in a position to buy and when they're in a position to buy. How would you go about assessing that for a buyer, and when is the right time to start?
Yeah, so I have that a lot. There's a lot of anxiety around wondering if you are going to be approved or if it is the right time to start looking for a property. And a lot of the time when customers come and see me that they're unsure if they can be approved or not, it generally works out to be fine. They can start looking for a property. They can start putting together that pre-approval, because there's so many different options out there for clients, whether it's they're buying themselves with a 20% deposit, whether we're using government grants to allow them to purchase their place with a low deposit, or even an option of a guarantor, where we're using your parent or a family member to go as security for your next purchase. So, there's lots of different options, and it's really important that you speak to your mortgage broker to make sure that we can get everything all prepared for you, and you probably will be pleasantly surprised with how soon you can buy your next home.
Evan, thank you so much for your professional insights. If a buyer out there wants to get in contact with you, we'd encourage them to get in touch with us, and we'll pass along your details. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.